Hey guys, it's February the 6th. We've had some storms the last few days. We got lots of snow down outside. There, Leo, show you outside. So we're just inside on a Saturday here today, taking it easy, and we thought we'd bring out some of our gear to show you guys. I think some people out on YouTube will appreciate this, guys that are into outdoor apparel. I really like finely crafted stuff, and I have an awesome collection of some of the nicest stuff I think that's ever been made in this planet in terms of like tools and clothing. And so I'm going to start going through some of this stuff for you guys and show you what we have. We're going to start with a little series on boots, and we'll start with our Arctic boots. So what we're going to talk about today is footwear for dry, cold climates. And what I mean by that is when you go into the Arctic, into temperatures, let's say, well below zero, everything, of course, freezes. Once everything freezes really solid, you no longer have to worry about really getting wet. Even Leo made the point about snow. And even snow is not really going to melt into your boots unless there's a heat source, trying to melt that snow. When you're in minus 30, everything's actually quite dry outside. Now, I have these boots because we do get that type of condition usually every winter here for a short period. We will get temperatures of, say, between minus 10 and minus 20, sometimes as low as minus 30. We have dry, therefore, conditions, dry, cold conditions, and we also end up with usually a fair amount of snow down on the ground at those times. And so you can wear this footwear at certain times of the year around here. We have here a comparison of the U.S. military mukluks and Canadian military mukluks. I have a pair of each. These are awesome for this type of condition. The U.S. ones are, well, first I'll start with the liner. I use the same liner in both boots. They're made by the Canadian military, and I happen to buy a few of them. So anytime, if I've never worn out a pair, but if they were to wear out, I've got a couple replacements. And I put these in any of these type of boots I have. Anybody who wants a really awesome boot liner, these are made out of wool. They're made by the Canadian military. They have a nylon patch on the heel for extra durability, because I do find if anything wears out in these types of boot liners, it's usually in the heel and sometimes up here around the toe, but that's got that covered. These boots are made with these removable liners so that when you stop for the day, if your feet were sweating and these liners happen to get wet at all, you can pull them out and you can dry them. And what's really nice too about these Canadian ones, they're really thick, very, very warm, and they're made one inside of the other. These are hard to get apart, but I'll try to pull them out. And when you go to dry them, there, you can pull one outside of the other, and then you can put that on the line, and they'll dry a lot faster for you. And then when you're ready to use them again, you just stuff one back inside the other, and you've got a double layer, really warm boot liner. So that's those. Now the boots themselves, I'm just going to pull that liner out of that one. These ones are made out of really strong canvas type material that will stand up to abrasion and things like ice and stuff like that. So the material's in them really good. The Canadian military ones are made out of more of like a really solid nylon. I would assume probably the canvas would breathe a little bit better than the nylon, but the nylon might end up being a little bit more durable. Anyways, they're made for a similar function. They're not meant to keep your feet dry because, again, these aren't meant to be worn in wet conditions. These are meant to allow your feet to breathe. So when you're in really cold weather and you're stomping around, trying to keep your feet warm in these liners, if your feet start to get wet, or sweat I should say, this type of an upper, all right, cameraman needed a little bit a break for his arms. Still haven't gotten that tripod, sorry about that, Leo. So anyways, guys, so the uppers are on these, they're meant to breathe. They're meant to allow the sweat from your foot to evaporate out through the material so that your feet are always really warm and dry in really cold temperatures. And these do work extremely well for that type of thing. Obviously, though, with both boots, if you get into any amount of moisture that's more than, say, an inch of slush or something like that on them, they both offer maybe about an inch of protection at the bottom that's rubberized, where you can step in a little bit of moisture, but if you get into any kind of deep slush or walk into a puddle or something like that, these are not the boots to be wearing. So they're just not good in those types of cold cold wet conditions. Mostly that's what we have around here are cold wet conditions, and it's actually one of the hardest things to prepare for in the wintertime. And we'll get to that when we move into those types of boots, but as just a quick look, a transition type of a boot from a mukluk to something very similar to a mukluk but made for cold wet weather would be this type of a boot here that has the rubberized sole on the bottom. And like I say, I'll explain those on another video as we move away from the Arctic ones. But the Arctic ones are not meant to keep your feet dry, they're meant to let your feet breathe. They're tall, which is really nice. Both pairs are really tall on your leg, and they do have laces at the top of both pairs so that you can pull them tight. And the reason is that when you're walking around in deep snow, you can put these on, and the upper on these acts as its own gaiter. Now you can buy gaiters. I have a pair of those I'll show on another video, which is like a strap that will run under your shoe and will give you this type of an upper against your leg, so that snow can't go down in the wintertime down into your boots. These types of boots act as their own gaiter. They come up, they tie really tight against your leg, which is awesome. So now no snow can go down in your boot. That's one of the biggest complaints I have about all boot manufacturers, is that they don't think about snow going into your bloody boot or into the tongue of your boot. And most winter boots are crap just because of that alone. They're garbage. So anytime you're buying a winter boot, try to find something that hugs against your leg really tightly and doesn't have a big protruding tongue or something like that on them that can catch snow. This will help you out a lot. And then on top of that, when you wear these, you would have your outer shell pants that would come down over these generally, so that snow cannot go up the pants and back down the boots. Makes for a really, really good seal. So both of them are, I think both pairs are about the same height. Oh, I'm wrong. The US military ones are a bit higher, and I like that. I also like the zipper on the American ones that come up here. I like the lacing system better on the American ones. The Canadian ones just have 3 loops here, and it's all very loose kind of. These ones here have 5 eyelets, and everything kind of holds together tighter. So personally, I like the upper on the American pair better than the Canadian pair. What I don't like on the American pair compared to the Canadian one is the sole. For some reason, the American pair made this ridiculous little heel that is recessed around the boot. And so it only gives you this small kind of area that clumps down on the ground. I just don't, it's just an odd design. I don't like it. The Canadian pair has a nice flat. Okay, so sorry, we had another little break there, guys. I'm not exactly sure where I was. Anyways, we were just talking about the general design. I prefer the American design over the Canadian for the most part, all except for the heel on their boot. And I think when it comes to snowshoeing and things like that, or just hiking around, like especially if you get on an icy surface, I don't know. I just don't like the heel that they put on those. But otherwise, I think in general, and I also think, I should say, I think these boots are lighter, the American ones, by a little bit. They're a little bit lighter weight on the feet. They come up higher on the leg. They're a nicer design with the lacing and the zipper and stuff. So I would say, for most use, I would prefer those. If I were actually going into the Arctic though, and we're in the military and wanted a pair that I knew were going to function well and were really durable and whatnot, probably the Canadian military ones would be the better pick. And for, like I say, even just comfort hiking, knowing that you have a better bottom on those when you're hiking around for miles or something, I kind of think that the Canadian Arctic boots would be the better ones for military guys that are actually going out there in the field for an extended period. But for me, just going out for a hike or whatever around for an afternoon or for a few minutes, I kind of like wearing those. Both boots are really, really awesome. If you want a pair of footwear that is going to keep your feet warm and dry in extremely cold conditions, these are awesome boots to wear. The only other thing though I'll say about it is that when you transition into boots like this, you also lose all the support for your heel and stuff like that when you're walking around. So it's a different experience walking around in a pair of mukluks than it is in a pair of combat boots that lace up tight to your heel and give you all of that ankle support and things like that. And I think if I could choose between the two, I would sooner have a good combat type of boot that has ankle support in it to be walking around and that's lighter weight and more comfortable them slogging around.
It's been 10 minutes.
But, okay, ready. We're going to wrap it up then because I think we're running out of memory on our phone. Anyways.
Leave a like if you want to see more of these.
Yes, we'll get some more videos. We're going to transition next from the Arctic footwear into more of a cold, wet climate, and then we'll go from that through the rest of our
Leave a like and subscribe. See you later.
Awesome.